Hey, what's up guys? Today we're taking a look at a simple but powerful CAD software, MoI 3D. Okay guys, here we are in Moment of Inspiration, or MoI, and we're just going to be taking a quick look at the interface today. So I don't really have time to show you how to do something nice like these binoculars, and these aren't even that great. I actually have very little experience with any kind of CAD software. I'm so used to working with polygons and subdivisions and sculpting that this really was a little bit of a struggle to make. So I'm still learning this a bit myself. But we can take a look at it. And so here's the basic interface, just pretty much the way it is when you open it up. And with the different windows here, you can choose different windows. You can have split, which we have now, or 3D, the top, front, and right. And if you right-click any of these or click the one you're already on again, you can get the opposite. So right becomes left, front becomes back. If we're on split, we can say top becomes bottom. Oh, sorry, a little mouse trouble there. Yeah, so right-clicking on that becomes bottom, and then you can see they become all the opposites. And right-clicking on 3D does nothing. So we can see we don't really have a very typical interface here. If you have a 3D mouse, you can zoom in and out with it and pan, and of course rotate, doing all of those at the same time. If you don't have a 3D mouse, Shift and Alt will pan, Control and Alt will zoom, and just dragging around with the right mouse button will rotate. And then of course the mouse wheel will also zoom in and out. Now you can also use these buttons down here. I find these a little bit wonky because they're really delicate. You have to click and move just a little bit, because the further you move it, the faster it will go. So it's really easy to get lost in there. And if you do get lost, you can just click the reset. Another odd thing you'll notice, if you're panning and you get near the edge, it'll just keep going. I mean, that's supposed to be a feature, but I personally find it a little bit irritating. So I just kind of stay away from the edges. And here, of course, you can zoom into a specific area. And that's pretty much it for the navigation. And of course I showed you a little bit down here, but we basically have our menus down here. We have the file menu for open, save as, new, import, export. We also have just a save button. If the project is, if you've already been working on it, you've saved it once already, you can just click that once. Undo, redo, delete. Of course here you have your grid measurements. You can type stuff in here. Not sure what these do actually, haven't figured that out yet. We can adjust our snapping in here, so you can turn these on and off. I usually keep just those two on. You can also set the snap settings with the little pop up there. And this could be really handy. And of course over here we have our options. Bunch of different things you can check out. Shortcut keys, good to check those out. It would be pretty handy to know. There's more of our grid options. You can set the colors, make them a little bit darker if this is too light. Here's some more snapping options and the import-export options. Yep. Okay, then of course we also have the help. Here's the about, and clicking that will open the web page for the help. And let's start a new project so we can show you some of these tools on the side. File, new. I'll discard my changes. And so over here we have all of our tools for creating and editing. So let's start over here with Draw Curve. Some basic ones. You can create a straight line. If you pick a polyline, you can do the same thing, create a straight line, but then you can continue making more. If you want to drop the tool, you can hit done, or you can just right click and it stops it, which is a lot easier than coming all the way over here every time. Our Freeform lets you draw curves like so. Right click. That was the control points one where they kind of stick off the edge around the corners. Through points will have nodes for you to grab right on the line if you prefer that method. And then of course sketch, you can just draw it out. And then it should be pretty obvious our rectangle. Let's delete some of these so we have room to work. So now I can show you another odd little thing in here. So if you want to select, you can draw out a selection like so. And if you drag from the left, either bottom left or upper left, you'll notice it doesn't select anything yet. So you have to surround the entire object before it will be selected. So in this case, I only got the one. So let's deselect. We'll just left click. If you come from the right, it'll get everything it touches. So that's just something important to remember when you're making selections. So anyway, let's look at our rectangle here. This is the corner method, and it even gives you instructions here. Pick corner point, and gives you the option for rounded corners. So just click on there and drag that out, and then click again to finish it. The center, you can say snap it to the origin, and then pull out, and it'll expand from the center. And then 3 points. Let's draw in here. Click, click, click. That helps you get one at an angle. Alright, select these and delete them. And pretty much they kind of work all the same. See, that's coming from the center. This is coming from one edge. And you can set the number of sides on that, so we can make it 3 sides. And click, and then we basically have a triangle. And then star, pretty much the same thing. Yep. So let's delete those. Circles works the same. Can go do the diameter. So it'll start at one side and click on the other. This is all left clicks, by the way. If I just say click, I'm referring to a left click. Go arc, click, click, and then draw it. So the first click is the center, second click is the starting point, and then we can just drag around and then click a third time to finish it. And we got a few different options there too. Same thing with ellipse, and then there's more, a few different options there. Let's delete that, delete that. Then on our next tab here we have solids. So these work pretty much the same way. I just want to make a plane. I can just drag it out, or I should say click and then move your mouse and click a second time. Same thing here in the center, and then 3 points. Works just like the triangle or the rectangle option. And then same thing for selecting those. You can just drag over them, hit delete. Sphere. Now, oh, I skipped over the box, but sphere is basically just same thing. Click once, pull it out, click again. Box, same thing as the plane, except you have an extra click where you can pull up or down in either direction. And then click again to finish it. Cylinder, again, same as the circle, and then pulling it in a direction to extend it out. All right, well, let's keep those on there for the moment. We'll move on to edit. So yeah, if you click that again, you can collapse these. You can collapse them all. So let's move on to our edit tab. So suppose I have two lines like that. Oops. And then we'll start another one right there and there. So now these are, it looks connected, but these are actually two separate lines. So if I select them both and hit join, it joined them, so now it's one. Okay, the trim tool has a few different functions. Let's say I want to cut a line across this sphere. So I can select it. I'll just take the line tool and drag a line across. This will probably work better from one of the orthographic views, but we'll get the point. Then we can hit trim and select our line and hit done. And now we've got our line cut across there, and it's actually two separate objects now. So I've really just cut one away. Okay, undo that. For the extend tool, let's say I have a curve up here, and it goes down like that. But I really want it to stop at the edge of the sphere here. So we can click extend and choose our object we want to extend. And then of course up here we can click done or just right click. And now it says select boundary objects. So that's the sphere. And then right click or done, and it extends it to reach the sphere. And that if you have a curve like this, it'll create a straight line. If we have an arc like this, let's right click and drop that. Let's pick our curve, right click, select the last tool you were using, which was the arc tool. So let's cancel. So let's go to extend, we'll select that, right click, select that, right click, see, and it continues the arc around. So a curve, it'll create a straight line to the object. With an arc, it'll continue making the arc to the object. Okay, let's move on. So we have show points. So here's our curve we made here, and it is made up of points, but you generally can't see them. So hit show points and select our object, right click, and now we can see all the points that made it up, and we can edit them. That's real handy. Okay, right click to drop the tool. If you want to add a point, it helps if we have show points active. Then we can just add a point anywhere on there. So now I have two options for moving it. Right click to drop that. Oops, cancel. Okay, then copy and paste are pretty obvious. Why those are buttons on here is that if you have a touch screen on your laptop, or I suppose desktop, you can use that for zooming in and out, panning, and you can also have these copy and paste buttons here, so you really don't need a keyboard at all. So with a convertible laptop, you can just switch it into tablet mode and work completely like that, which is really cool. There's a lot of programs that I would love to just work like that, but you need so many keyboard shortcuts. For hide, this should be pretty obvious. You just hide the object, click it again to bring it back. Lock locks the object so you can't accidentally select it or move it. So we'll click again to unlock. History, I'm not really too sure about. I would have to check on that. So let's switch over to view. It's basically the same here, reset all. It's basically the same as hitting this reset button. So if I'm zoomed in, I can hit reset, and I can reset all to do all of the windows. For image, I haven't used this yet, but you can load an image in the background for reference. You have to add it first. C-plane, I have not used yet. Select, select all, deselect all. If we have something selected, oops, let's cancel that. If we have a couple things selected, you can invert the selection. That's pretty simple stuff there. So let's come down to construct. So with construct, our main things we use a lot are going to be Boolean. So if I have this and stick it inside of there, we'll stick it at a weird angle. I can use Boolean. Let's actually select nothing first. And I can select that first, and then hit Boolean Union, and select that, and right click, and now they are merged together into one object. Okay, let's undo. And so again, Boolean difference, select that, right click, and now it cuts it out. Intersection will give us just the parts that were inside of those two objects. Let's undo. And then merge. Oops, my mistake. Select one, merge, select the other, right click. And so basically we have three separate objects now. The cuts and then the inside part. All right, fillet. It's a pretty common object. So before I get into that, let's get out of that. Let's point out some of the selection things that I didn't mention. So if you click once, it'll select the whole object. Then you can see the edges get highlighted, so you can click again to just select that edge. Click in the outside here to deselect. Also, if I click once here and then I click on the flat surface, it'll just select that, and right click or left click to deselect. So same thing, it just gets that part. So with the fillet, if I click there and then click that edge, I can click fillet, and it'll let me choose the measurements, say the inches. Say I want to do 1 inch. Click in there, and it updates to show it. Say I want to do 1/2 inch, I'll say 0.5, Oh, that's 1.5. I want 0.5. That's half an inch. Hit done. Now we've got our nice rounded edge on there. Let's say I want some chamfered edges. We can select those. Come down to chamfer. And I can do the same thing. We also get our pop-up box here. Again, if you don't have your keyboard, this is really handy. So I say I want 1.5. Click OK. Now we get a nice chamfer. Click Done. Okay, that's basically how that works. Offset. If I have a curve, let's pick our arch over here. Done. I can set the distance, and you can see here you can do it with your mouse and just click, and so it'll basically just add that on there. And then I can move the middle one too. The shell and inset I have not used yet. Nope. I have not really used planar yet either. So not 100% sure what that does. Nope. Extrude, pretty basic. Though there's a couple things you should know. Let's select this, and I'm just going to pan over here. We'll drag this out, and obviously, like, forgot to mention, you can just click objects and then drag them. Right now I have both selected, so if I just want to move this one, and you can see we get these corners where you can scale it, and this little guy will rotate it, and then clicking in the middle, clicking on the object will move it. So anyway, exclude the extrude, so we've got that selected. Select that guy, and then it will extrude, but you'll notice that it is not solid. So if I want a solid object, I have to make sure that edge goes all the way around. Let's go around like so, and we'll make sure it says closed when we click. Now I can click that and extrude, and see it comes up, and now we have a new solid object. And the original edge, whoops, the original edge is still there. And if I drag that edge around, it drags everything with it. So I can select that edge and move with it, although that looks a little glitchy. But suppose I take these two objects now, whoops, just those two objects, and move them around. Now I have that edge, and I can delete it. Oops, I had everything else selected. So we'll just delete that. Okay, the Revolve Tool. So let's say I have a freeform edge here. I'm going to create it right on 0. And I'll just make a shape like this. And right click to finish it. And I'm going to tweak that a little bit more. Let's show points. And let's make something a little bit more like that. Okay, I'll right click. And so let's pick Revolve. And I'll click my object and right click. And then I can just pick an axis like so. And we can see it instantly revolves that around that axis. Okay, so I'm going to adjust it actually even further by moving that point around. Let's delete that one. So for Loft, let's cancel that. Let's get rid of all of our objects here oops, all of our objects. Okay, so Loft, these like, I know these are like major tools that you use in CAD, but I don't have a ton of experience with them. But let's say I have a curve like so, and I can take that and I can hold Control and drag it to make a duplicate, and let's click that top one and show points, and I'm going to edit the top one a little bit. So we'll make it a little bit smoother, like so. And so let's pick Loft, that one, and click Done. And now it creates a solid surface inside there. Oops. A sweep I still have to play with. So these I don't know a whole lot about. I'll still have to play with those. Transform, pretty basic stuff. If I want to move like more precisely, I can select an object, move, the base point start right there, and then distance from edge I could choose, or I could just drag it. Copy, like I said, you can hold Control and drag it, but you can also use this copy and just make duplicates, and right click to finish the tool. Let's rotate this edge with the rotate tool, so I can click there and click again, and nope. And so now it's rotating. Okay, and of course scale works similar way. Select there, select the other end, and then just scale it up and down. And we have also a few different options if you have more of a 3D object. The mirror tool comes in pretty handy. I'm going to work in the top view here. So click mirror, click one end, click the other end, and we have our object mirrored. And of course you can select both of them and join. So now it's all one object. Okay, for the array, let's draw a sphere. We'll put it in here. Just make a little tiny one. And we'll select our sphere and click array. And we have different options for grid, direction, circular, or a curve where it can follow one of these curves. So let's try the grid one. We can set the X, Y, and Z number of them. I've already got these filled in here, 10, 10, and 5. Click Done, and let's pick the spacing. I'll say 5 inches. Okay, 5 inches, okay. And then the Z spacing, same, 5 inches. Click OK. And now we get a grid of our spheres. So let's undo. Let's click array and direction array, so it'll be 5. A couple of different modes there, but I can just click in there and drag it out. So it'll go along a straight line. Now I get 5 of them in a row. Okay, let's look at the circular array. Just zoom this out here so I can see. And so let's pick our center point here. There we go. And we get a few other options. I can move our point around, say it's be 360, we'll get 8 of them. Yep, a few different options. So, got our array of spheres there in a circle. Like this one. First, before I do that, let's move our sphere over to one of these curves. Snap it to the ends there. Although I don't believe you have to snap it to the end. So let's pick, it's selected, we'll hit curve, we'll pick our curve, and there we go, it'll follow the curve along. And that pretty much covers it for the array. Align, let's go back, we'll draw a curve going this way. Right click, so align, let's pick our spheres here. And let's take that edge and delete it so I can easily hit my spheres. Alright, we'll pick, I'll just get all of them. There we go. And we'll hit align, and whoop, there we go. Alright, well I just made them a straight line. And I can pick a couple of different options here. Okay, there we go. I was thinking I could align them to this edge, but I may be wrong. Yep, so I just made a straight line out of them. Orient, I don't really know how that works. And deform, I can assume how it works, but I'm not 100% sure. It looks like it can change a straight object to match like a curve. Let's cancel. And that's pretty much all the tools that I know how to use here. A couple other things are this sub D, which you can actually, if you have a sub D object that you made in another polygon program, like Lightwave 3D for example, this is really cool because you can bring that in and it will create a NURBS object from the sub D object. Dim here, let's deselect. Dim is for dimensions, and this is pretty neat. So suppose, let's just pretend our drawings here are like a model, an architectural blueprint or something. So if I pick horizontal, I can choose somewhere along here, and then choose along there. So now I have a object that shows the dimensions of that. Again, I can do vertical, say the distance between the sphere and that curve. We'll click that, click the curve, pull it out. Now we can see that distance. And we got some other similar ones. The angle one works basically like an arc or an arch. Oops. There we go. I'll right click to finish it. Oh, okay, left click to finish it. The leader is pretty neat, so if I want to tell people that this is a ball, I can click it, pull out here, maybe pull out here, and I'll right click, and then I get a dialog box and I can type ball. And so now people know that is a ball. And text is basically just adding in some text. So this is text. There we go. Then I can just drag it around. That's pretty handy. So that covers most of the tools. A couple of them I didn't really know, but it covers most of them. Now, there's one more thing down here, the browser. I'm going to click that. Don't be surprised. There it is. So, click an object, say this one. And up here, it's a solid, I can double click unnamed and give it a name. Let's call it Bob the Ball. And so now you'll see it shows up here under objects. And we'll take this one, and we'll call it Steve. Now we have our nice little balls up here, Bob and Steve, friendly chaps. Now suppose I had a whole lot of objects and Bob and Steve were getting in the way. So I can hide Bob and hide Steve, bring Bob back. Okay. And then types. So with types I can hide certain types of things, say curves, my curves disappear. Solids, my spheres disappear. Edges, so if I zoom in on here you can see it has an edge in it. I can hide that. The faces will leave just the edge, and the annotations are the text and stuff that I put up before. And then I can hide all objects. Come down to styles. So I can give an object a style. Say we'll make that one green. And yep, that is green. Now this one is red. And then I can choose to hide them. So this section is going to be real convenient if you have an object that's made up of multiple parts. Say like an engine, and you have different parts to the engine. You can name all the different objects like Bob and Steve, but probably more accurate names. And then if you want to work on one part with the others not getting in the way, you can hide them. And I think that pretty much covers it. That is a basic overview of MoI, or Moment of Inspiration. If you liked this video, please subscribe. I'm going to be doing more videos on MoI as I get more used to it. And I want to thank Michael Gibson for giving me the license of MoI so that I can do these tutorials. Okay, be sure to really like this video for me. Leave a comment below, and I'll see you next time.